Right, let's move on. And this week coming up is the Bellator Ireland card as they co-promote again with BAMMA. And what is a pretty good card all the way through. What about that main event, Brian Moore against AJ McKee? Obviously, I was trying to watch as much tape on AJ McKee as I could, but there isn't that much, obviously, because Bellator don't really put up their fights and stuff. But he seems to be an unbelievably good wrestler, good outside game, very athletic guy, hits hard, big slams. How do you think he matches up against Brian Moore, in that case? And tell us about Moore.
Yeah, I think AJ McKee will be looking to implement the wrestling and will be looking to put Moore on his back. I think Moore's kind of flown under the radar, as we talked about, because he wasn't really around for the initial burst of mainstream attention and given to Conor McGregor and Paddy and Cahill and all them and Ashling and all them. So people maybe forgotten about Brian Moore a bit, but he's a very, very well-rounded fighter. It's really, like, as you say, it's really hard to know with AJ McKee. These guys that he's beaten, I don't really know them, the only fights I've seen of them is when they're fighting AJ McKee and losing, usually a unanimous decision. And usually a lot of it is to do with wrestling. So if AJ is going to win this fight, I think he's going to have to put Brian on his back and keep him there or keep putting him on his back. But I think Brian's striking has come on a lot over the years as well. I think he can look at his recent finishes and take a lot from that. But it's actually really hard because I just haven't really seen that much of AJ McKee. As you were saying, it's hard to find tape on him. Yeah. Obviously, his dad is a well-known UFC veteran. He's been around MMA since he was very, very young, which is a big benefit. He's probably coming into the sport as a well-rounded fighter and not just as a wrestler. But obviously, wrestling is a very handy thing to fall back on as well.
Yeah, like you'd obviously have to give McKee the advantage here, but I think Brian Moore is a very, very good fighter, and you could see in that Daniel Weichel fight, even though it didn't go too long, Moore was doing very, very well in that fight. He said afterwards he made one mistake. I think he did, and obviously he paid for it as well. But I think he's underestimated. He can hang with these guys, and I think he will hang with him for a few. This is 3 rounds as well, isn't it? Bellator don't do 5-round main events, do they? But
yeah, 3 rounds. Yeah.
I think this could go a few rounds. Brian Moore could, he's obviously gonna have a lot of the crowd behind him. Being a Wexford man, Leinster man, training out of SPG, he's gonna have a lot of the people coming up from Wexford and stuff, and he's gonna have a big crowd behind him. Obviously, when it's in Dublin, and that's gonna help him. AJ McKee has never really been in a spot like this before, where it could be, you could even have Conor McGregor sitting there cage side, like roaring him on, and he's gonna get the crowd behind him. That could be an absolutely huge thing for him. As well. Now, I'm looking forward to that. As a main event, you have to feel a bit sorry for Bellator as well. And I have an article coming out on this during the week. And feel sorry for Ireland really, because a lot of the main events have fallen apart. In the UFC and Bellator are the big fights. Like Chris Fields and Liam McGeary kind of fell apart in Belfast, and then you had Steve Miocic, Ben Rothwell falling apart. You had Poirier against Duffy, and a few more as well. Gunnar Nelson and Dong Hyun Kim, I believe, as well fell apart. That was supposed to be in Belfast, and with James Gallagher falling off this fight as well. Moore and McKee would have been a good fight, maybe a little bit down the line when they had maybe a little bit to build it, or if you did this whole SPG thing, they haven't much time to do it now. There isn't really much heat or anything between these two lads, and it's unfortunate like that. If they had Gallagher on here, and maybe McKee then Moore after that, if Brian Moore maybe called him out when he was supposed to be on this card, and then they fought in Ireland or they fought in a co-main event or something down the line, that would have been huge. So it's a little bit disappointing for that. But I think the fight itself will actually be pretty good. I'd probably pick AJ McKee to win, but I definitely wouldn't rule Brian Moore out. He's a tough guy and a tough matchup for anyone.
Yeah, I'm in a similar position. I think it'd probably be a 3-round decision in the end. I think there's going to be some close rounds, but I think the wrestling game will win it for AJ McKee if he implements that. If he tries to strike at Brian, it could go a different way. But from the little bit I've seen of AJ McKee, he's got a good fight IQ, and he'll probably work the takedowns as much as possible and eke out a decision.
Yeah, Sinead Kavanagh too here is, I believe, is in the common event according to SevereMMA.com, but what would them pricks know anyway? And she takes on Maria Casanova, a French lady who's 3-5-1, I believe. Sinead Kavanagh now 4-2. This is a big fight for her too, isn't it? After we talked about her last fight last week. She's 2 defeats now in a row after four 4 wins in a row to start off her career, and there were 2 decision losses. She obviously has big, heavy hands, and if she comes in here and gets a big win, it could be a big thing for her as well, because she's kind of got the Conor McGregor rub as well. He said not only a couple of months ago that she could be the next Conor McGregor, that she has the quality and she's going to improve like that as well. But if that's going to happen, it needs to be happening now as well. In here, she's a big spot. This could be something that could lift her through at Bellator, in the Bellator ranks, fighting at featherweight as well. Is somewhere where they have a belt in Bellator, and they would love to put her in a title fight. If she can win 2-3 fights in a row here, starting on Saturday night, she could be getting into that title picture fairly soon.
Yeah, I think it's a huge fight. Like on your record, 4-2 now. If you lose, you're 4-3, and if you win, you're 5-2. And I think it's very different. It's huge in how you're going to be booked and what people are going to think of you as well. And like as we said last week or the week before, whichever it was, her last fight was razor close and she lost. But people don't remember that. People just look at your record and say, "Oh, you lost 2, you won 4." So. Huge fight for Sinead here. Big spot as well. I believe it's going to be the co-main event. So, from looking at, I don't know much about Maria Casanova, but from looking at the record, I think Sinead will probably get it done here. But it's hard to know because I haven't seen any of Casanova.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, baby slices on this card as well. Charlie Ward against John Redmond, Paul Redmond on the card as well. 2 Team Rhino namesakes there. What do you think about that Charlie Ward?
Decky Dalton fight is actually off the card. We announced during the week. Decky Dalton got an elbow injury and his fight is off, so that's disappointing. But he's always in a good scrap.
Mm-hmm. What about that John Redmond Charlie Ward fight? That's a big SPG versus Team Rhino fight as well, isn't
it? yeah, old school. Charlie Ward got to the UFC when he was 3-1, and then a couple of quick losses, one in quite bizarre fashion in his last fight before this. Charlie's had a mad career. He made his pro debut against John Phillips, and was winning the fight, and then ended up getting knocked out. John Redmond's been around for forever. He's fought Chris Fields back in the day. He's fought everybody. He's fought Reese McKee. He's fought he's been around. He's an Irish MMA veteran or a stalwart.
That's a good word, yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be.
So I think as long as Charlie, the weird way he got knocked out the last time, it's like is he really chinny or was that just bizarre? What happened? Because when you get knocked out a couple of times in a row, maybe it's better to take a bigger rest in between. It's a really hard one, but I think Charlie's gonna be able to get takedowns. So if he fights a smart game plan, I think Charlie will be able to get on top and get the ground and pound going and win from there.
Yeah, I think that last one was just a bit weird, to be honest. I think this will be a good fight. I think it'll be a back and forth. I think someone will probably get knocked out or submitted. In the first couple of minutes maybe, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And Paul Redmond as well, back after we only saw him fight a couple of weeks ago there at KSW. Quick turnaround for him as well against I believe it's the Portuguese opponent, I believe he is. But it's going to be good to see Reds as well. He was looking for a place in this fight, and I think this is a big one for him.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it's 161 pounds, so it's obviously late notice. So he'll be fighting a bit higher. So he doesn't have to make that 155 pound weight cut twice in 3 weeks. So that's good. It's a big boost to the card, especially with Decky Dalton falling off injured.
What's your favourite fight in that undercard as well? Obviously the BAMMA portion of the card. Alex Lahore, Richard Kiley for a BAMMA title is there. Andy Young as well fighting Daniel Perez. Should be a very, very good fight. Dylan Tuke is coming back. Richie Smullen is fighting as well. I think that's for a Lonsdale title, isn't it? And there's a few, Blaine O'Driscoll, Ryan Curtis, Ian Pascu as well. A few more guys. That Blaine O'Driscoll, Dominic Wooding fight, it'll be a good fight as well. What's your standout on there?
Dominic Wooding. Yeah, there's a few good matchups there. What would I have to go with? I'm very interested in seeing Dylan Tuke come back as well. Mm-hmm. Maybe Blaine and Dominic Wooding.
Yeah,
I'd say Alex Lahore and Kiley. There's a lot of trash talk and bad blood and stuff, but
Yeah, it's hard to think like that. Kylie could obviously rise to the occasion and stuff, but Lahore is very, very much, more experienced than Lahore. Like a lot of people are giving out about this fight, that it's a very an inexperienced guy against, their champion, a guy who could be moving to the UFC very soon. And Richard Kiley I think a lot of people think could get there, but he isn't there yet. So I think that's why it is.
He's a brilliant striker. He's looked great in his two victories in his pro career so far. But you've got to expect that if Lahore can get it to the ground, which he should be able to do against a guy who's young in his career, for such an experienced guy like himself, people are talking about going to the UFC, as you're saying. So you'd have to expect that if Lahore can get it to the ground, he'll be able to dominate there or get the finish there. But Kylie is very dangerous on the feet, and if Lahore gets caught up in all this emotion and trash talk, maybe he'll want to show that he's better on the feet. Maybe that's what Kylie's trying to do. But yeah, I think the most intriguing is seeing Dylan Tuke come back.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. John Kavanagh, I think a few years ago, he said Dylan Tuke and Richie Smullen were, two of his best guys.
Yeah, that Smullen Barnett fight is brilliant as well. Like Barnett looked great, like as well.
I think this is a kind of a changing of the guard, maybe fight for Irish MMA, and my column coming out kind of mentions that as well during the week. That Aisling Daly now is gone, Carl Pindred is gone, Paddy Hoolan's gone, Neil Seary is gone. There's this next group kind of needs to come through. You have the stalwarts, as you like to call them, of Paul Redmond and Norman Park, who's another fight booked as well coming up. But these Dylan Tuke, Richie Smullen, Pat Wickstead, different guys like that. He's obviously not in the car, but these guys are going to come through. Ryan Curtis as well from Roddy's gym. These guys are definitely going to come through. Reese McKee as well. And it's a big time for them, and this could be a big card for them to make a name for themselves. Even with Scott Cork is going to be there watching the lads on the BAMMA card. They could earn themselves a big place in Bellator, and Bellator have been coming back now a few times as well. Making a lot over in England as well and in Europe. So it's a huge fight for a lot of these guys.
I think Blaine O'Driscoll, if he can beat Dominic Wooding and move himself to 6-1, like I know Dominic Wooding is only 3-1, but he's a highly touted prospect. He looked really good against Andy Young, who's also fighting on this card actually, against Daniel Barres, who beat Ryan Curtis. Yeah. So there is some really good fight here, and I think if Blaine can make a real statement, move to 6-1, beat a guy in Dominic Wooding who's very tricky and very athletic and very explosive and just a very good martial artist for very young in his career. Like, you might look at his record and think he's inexperienced, but he doesn't fight like that. So if Blaine can win here, it really shows how much he's progressed, and it really puts him in a good position.
Yeah, and Andy Young as well, I must mention, he's obviously in a title fight there as well. He's one of the top fighters in the island of Ireland these days. Like, he's very, very impressive. His last 5 or 6 fights, a guy, he's 11-8 now, I believe, in his career. Yeah. But
there's a touch of the series to his record, Neil Seary to his record, where he's been fighting. He's kind of come into his own recently, and he was fighting guys that are bigger than him due to his small size and being around so many years ago.
Yeah, he's 5-1. His last 6, with the only loss to Ranni's today, and the decision loss, I believe.
Razor close.
Yeah, very, very close one. So he's another guy that'll be. Bellator could be calling on him, or the UFC could be calling on him for that kind of record. So yeah, it's going to be fun this Friday coming up. So let us know. I'll be there. Hopefully, anyway. Graeme will be there. Are
you gonna come out drinking this time, or are you gonna bottle it again?
I'll come drinking. I'm booked into the Gibson, so yeah, I'll be there. Call in, buy me a pint afterwards, not before.